Hey friends, Irene at Lyon here. Welcome to this video, to this YouTube channel, and to this world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I just got off a long-form Q&A call on my Facebook page where I'm talking about chronic illness, what it is, how it sets into the body, all the different types of chronic illnesses that are abounding right now in our Western culture and our stressed out culture where we're trapping so much survival stress. So I get into all these things and also what we need to do and put in place to heal them. Now, I'm not going to repeat myself. I want to encourage you, if this is a topic that you are interested either for yourself or others, to watch that after this shorter vlog. But there was something that I talked about in this long form video that I want to just sort of tease out a little bit more. It's a bit more theoretical and it's important to understand. So what we know with chronic illness, and just to give you a quick definition, that would be things like fibromyalgia, chronic pain, irritable bowel, Crohn's, autoimmune conditions, migraine headaches, really severe PMS, even chronic anxiety and depression could be put into that category of chronic illness. Now, this is from the work that I have learned and studied, and I practice through the works of Peter Levine, which is somatic experiencing. So that is what I spoke about. And what I touched on a little bit is something called the symptoms or the syndromes, the syndromal representation that comes out, which are these chronic illnesses that we have named and labeled as fibromyalgia and chronic pain and Raynaud's and RSD, all these things. So what we know is that those that suffer and that live with these conditions have had some form of early stress, early trauma, repeated chronic stress, where they are in a situation that is unsafe, that isn't good environmentally, and makes their system have to go into some form of defense mechanism, stress response. Again, this fight, flight, and freeze, these reactions of our autonomic nervous system, where the person is essentially having to shut down and cut off from the body. Now, when we do this, and usually we do this because we had to do that, it was a survival response. So it's important to not beat ourselves up about that, because that's just what the body did naturally to protect. But now if we are adult and we are living in our world and we no longer have that past stress and environment and abuse happening, we have to shift how we relate to our bodies so that we can heal it, so we can feel it, so that we can heal it. Now, the interesting thing is that when we had that early trauma, those early stresses, as I said, we disconnect and we don't know how to listen and feel what's happening inside. Sometimes we'll feel things when it's too late, right? We might not realize that a symptom or a pain or a sensation is there, and then before we know it, we have a full blown out migraine, or we have a full blown out gut spasm, or all of a sudden we are in a massive panic and anxiety attack and we can't move, or we are in a deep depressive state to the point where we also can't move. So what we have to do is realize that these reactions to stress are happening, but we don't have, it's almost like our radar is shut off. There's a terminology or a concept I learned from Peter Levine in learning this stuff quite a few years ago. He called it the somatization. I'm going to say that one more time. Somatization, so soma meaning body, of the symptom. So what that means is that we are popping a symptom that can go out into a full blown out, crazy panic attack, migraine headache, gut blow up, those sorts of things. Those are happening as a defense to what we are feeling inside. And by feeling inside, I mean feeling our emotions or expressing what is there, not being tuned into the fact that we are going into more of a fight, flight, or freeze response. So if we're not tuned into this, these symptoms pop up as a result to, in some strange way, stop us dead in the tracks. It's almost like the body's saying, screw you, You're not listening. I'm angry, I'm sad, I need help, I need support, or I need to say no, or whatever it might be. And because of our history of not knowing how to listen to that, the body will respond by saying, hey, if you're not going to pay attention to this need to get this anger out, or have a puddle fest and cry because of whatever we're feeling, we're going to give you a migraine headache, or we're going to give you a bellyache, or we're going to give you a massive chronic pain response. So you do pay attention. But then we treat and we see these symptoms and these syndromes as separate, right? That is the problem, when in actuality, the root cause is our lack of connection to our body. Gabor Maté, I've mentioned him many times. If you don't know who he is, he's a physician. He has written many books on illness and addiction and ADD. His book, When the Body Says No, I cannot recommend enough for this, because he talks about how when we suppress and hold emotion in and aren't connected to our stress physiology, our body will say no, and it'll say no with illness, autoimmune, cancer, heart disease, etc. So to reel it back in, I just did this long form Q&A on chronic illness. Please watch it in its entirety. It is a little longer. It's about 90 minutes long. It's like watching a movie, but it gives you a little more depth, a little more context, more analogies. I do some reading from one of my favorite books called Trauma Spectrum, written by Robert Scaer. That book is a beautiful book for really understanding how chronic illness and these symptoms pop. So be sure to get into that if you want a little more resource. And just know that one of the ways for us to heal these chronic illnesses is to reconnect to the body. And we have to reconnect to the body in a slow, titrated way. Titrated meaning slow paced, at our own pace, so that we don't overwhelm and over flood the system with too much too soon. Because if you think about it, back in the day when we were young and didn't have the maturity to know what to do with all the scary stuff happening to us, we got flooded, we got overwhelmed, and that's why we shut off from this vessel of ours. So to get it back, we need to go slow, we need to be mindful, we need to be bodyful, and we need to understand how these stress mechanisms and these autonomic nervous system responses are getting shut down, and we actually need to start feeling them again, which might seem counterintuitive. Why would you want to feel your stress responses? But that is part of the healing, so that we can be with them, sense them, and then they can do what they have to do to release from the system. All right. Thank you so much for being here, listening to this video about chronic illness, these symptoms that pop up. Like I said, please watch the whole long form Q&A to get more detail. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.